I'm very pleased to have back on the program with me Mr. Gerald Celente. Mr. Celente is the founder of the Trends Research Institute, and he is a noted trends forecaster. He has been quoted in virtually every major publication in the United States and often brings his trends research commentary to television as well. So, Mr. Celente, terrific to have you back on the program.
Oh, thanks for having me back, Dennis.
Well, Gerald, I want to start with what's going on in Europe because what happened to bank account holders in Cyprus could probably only be described as thievery. So I'd like your take on that. And also, is this a trend? Are we going to see more of this? Is this the modern-day bank bailout model?
I believe it is. And matter of fact, it was one of our top trends for 2012, a year ago, in the Trends Journal, which is our quarterly publication. And when you look at what happened in the United States back in 1933, it was a bank holiday. And I love the language. Orwell could have made that name up. Holiday? You lose your money. They devalued our currency in 1933. We were on the gold standard, and the dollar was pegged to gold, I believe, at $20.65 an ounce. And then after they forced the people to return all their money to the banks, all their gold rather, they repegged the price of gold, and remember the dollar was pegged to gold, to $35 an ounce, which means you just took a 70% loss. The same thing's really happening. I believe that Cyprus is the canary in the mine. See how it played out over there. Because if you remember, when it first happened, they were going to give a tax on deposits for everybody. A tax on deposits is stealing their money. Or a haircut is the other word they use. Lovely. And then, of course, that money was supposed to be guaranteed under the European Eurozone treaties. But they tried to get away with it, and they eventually stole the money from people who had over 100,000 euros in there. So I see Europe in complete decline. What's saving it? It's not getting any better in Greece. Spain stinks. Portugal is a mess. Ireland, they're still in a depression. Italy, they don't even have a government, and you have a debt to GDP ratio of over 130%. When they brought in that wonderful technocrat, Mario Three-Card Monti, he was going to fix it. It was 120%. So I should see what's going on in Cyprus, what happened a few weeks ago. Just more of the same happening, not only in Europe, but could happen in a country near you.
You know, Gerald, when you look at trends, which is your area of specialty, and you look at the political leadership trend, certainly in Europe, you have Beppe Grillo, who is now playing a prominent role in trying to get a government in Italy. And you have, kind of fringe political leaders, to use that term. May not be the best term to describe it, but they're starting to emerge. Is this going to be a trend that we're going to see intensify moving ahead?
Oh, sure. Look, they call Beppe Grillo a clown. He's a satirist. You want to see some clowns? How about the clowns that put us on the fiscal cliff? Remember that one? It's clowns everywhere. Politics is show business for ugly people. When you look around the world and you look who's leading us, I don't know how people could keep believing these so-called leaders. To me, they're the same people you couldn't stand in high school and college that wanted to be class president and head of the student council, and they never stopped. They met their career goals. So, yeah, we're going to start seeing breaking down of political parties around the world because they're so inefficient, they're so corrupt, and they're so inept. And as I said, you look at everything that the politicians are doing, and you point to me one thing you could proudly stand up and say, God bless America, that we have the Beltway circle jerks and the D.C. drama queens leading us.
So, speaking of the leadership in Washington, certainly the leadership in Washington almost 100 years ago put the Federal Reserve, a private institution, in charge of monetary policy. And certainly the trend there is the Fed is printing $1 trillion a year. Now, I'd like your take, Gerald. Is this going to lead to inflation, as some people are predicting, or are debt levels just too severe, and in your view, we will see deflation in spite of the Fed's best efforts?
My belief has been since the beginning, and I'm a strong proponent of gold, even during this downdraft. I was around when it crashed back in 1980. I was in the markets. Matter of fact, I bought on the highest day, the trading day of 875. It traded that day, closed at 850. My take has been continually, I've never been a proponent of inflation. I've been a proponent that they're debasing the currency. Like you just said, they're trillions of dollars they're printing. And not only in the United States, in Europe, in Japan, even in China. And they're all doing it differently, but the result is the same. So, for example, the price of a pound of coffee may go down or may stay the same. But your Zimbabwean dollar that becomes devalued, you need more of them to buy the coffee. The same thing what's going on is eventually going to happen, I believe, with the debasement of our currencies. It's going to take more of them to buy the product. The product didn't go up because of supply and demand. It went up only because the value of the currency went down. And again, that's what happened during the Great Depression. They devalued the dollar. And, they don't teach you this in economics 101, 102, 305, and 409. But that is the way I see it, is a debasement of the currency costing more to buy everything, even if that product is deflated.
Well, Joe, we have about a minute left in this segment, so it would be a terrific time to let the listeners know how they could learn more about your work. What would you advise them to do if they wanted to learn more?
Well, I'd advise them to go to our website, trendsjournal.com, trendsjournal.com. And if they want to read history before it happens, the Trends Journal is the only publication that I know of in the world that does that. And also, Dennis, we do Trends in the News every day, Monday through Friday, to keep people on top of the news and ahead of the trends. And I can say with all honesty, and people can see the forecasts, they're not going to see news like this anywhere else.
Well, it's a resource that I love to read. I'd encourage the listeners to check it out, and I'd encourage the listeners to stay with us, because after the break, we're going to come back and chat with Mr. Gerald Celente about trends in maybe some saber rattling going on. We're going to talk to him about the housing market and maybe even some areas of opportunity. So you want to stay with us? Everything Financial Radio will return after these words.